Disclaimer: I am a philosopher and a strategist of the mind, not a medical doctor. The content of this video is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard here. A doctor hands you a piece of paper. On it, a diagnosis, a name for the chaos your body is experiencing. With it, a prescription, a tool. They tell you what to take, but do they tell you how to think? They give you a regimen for your body, but do they give you a blueprint for your mind? The world tells you a diagnosis is a sentence, a limitation, the beginning of a slow decline. I am here to tell you that is a lie. A diagnosis is not a verdict. It is a set of operating conditions. It is not the end of your story. It is the moment you are called to become its true author. We are not here today to discuss medicine. We are here to discuss mastery. Your doctor's job is to treat the condition. Our job, together, is to forge the mind that can command it. They call it a chronic illness. Let's call it what it is: a constant companion. And you must decide if this companion will be your jailer or your sparring partner. A force that diminishes you, or one that forces you to become stronger, more disciplined, and more present than you have ever been before. This is the first and most critical principle from the ancient Stoics, the operating system I used to rebuild my own life from the ashes of burnout. It is the dichotomy of control. Some things are within our power, and some things are not. You did not choose to have diabetes. The specific behavior of your cells, the genetic lottery you were handed, these things are not in your control. To waste 1 second of mental energy raging against this reality, lamenting it, asking, "Why me?" is to surrender your power to the external. It is a strategic error of the highest order. What is in your power? Everything that happens next. Your response, your discipline, your mindset, the diligence with which you study the condition, the precision of your diet, the consistency of your exercise, the unwavering adherence to your medication, your reaction to a high or low blood sugar reading, choosing logic over panic. This is your domain. This is where the battle is won or lost. I once mentored a young man, a brilliant founder whose company was nearly wiped out overnight by a sudden shift in the market. He came to me, distraught, defeated. "It's over," he said. "Everything I built is gone." I told him, the market is external. It is an indifferent force. Your business plan, your product, your team, those were just strategies. The strategist remains. The market didn't defeat you, it simply invalidated your old plan. Your power is not in controlling the market. Your power is to sit down, right now, with a clear head, and architect a new one. He stopped seeing the crash as a personal failure and started seeing it as raw data. He rebuilt, and his second company was 10 times more resilient than his first. Your diagnosis is your market crash. It is a deluge of new data. Do not drown in it. Use it. Let's make this practical. Starting today, begin a simple journal. 2 columns. On the left, outside my control. On the right, within my control. The fatigue you feel some afternoons, left column. The decision to go for a 20-minute walk instead of turning on the television, right column. The cost of a specific medication, left column. The dedication to research cost-saving options and speak to your doctor about them, right column. This is not a mere intellectual exercise. It is a daily ritual that trains your mind to focus its immense power only on the territory it can conquer. So I will ask you, are you viewing this condition as a prison sentence or as a training ground for your mind? What part of this situation do you truly, absolutely control? That is your post. Defend it. There is a subtle poison that can infect the mind after a diagnosis. It is the feeling of shame, a sense that needing medication is a personal failure, a crutch, a sign of weakness. This is a profound misunderstanding of the nature of reality. A carpenter does not feel shame for needing a hammer. A pilot does not feel shame for needing an airplane. They understand that these are simply tools, and their skill is in mastering them. Your medication is a tool. It is a piece of highly refined technology designed to assist your body's systems. To see it as anything else is to allow emotion to cloud logic. Your task is not to resent the tool, but to understand it with the precision of an engineer. When I started my first tech company, I knew nothing about coding. I saw it as a kind of magic, but our success depended on it, so I forced myself to learn the fundamentals. I learned that code wasn't magic, it was pure logic, a series of if-then statements, commands, and functions that produced a predictable outcome. Once I understood the logic, I was no longer intimidated. I could speak to my engineers with intelligence. I could help diagnose problems. I understood the system. You must do the same with your medication. Do not be a passive consumer of pills. Become an active student of the systems you are influencing. If your doctor prescribes metformin, do not be satisfied with it, lowers my blood sugar. Ask how. Understand its logical function, that it primarily works by reducing the amount of glucose your liver produces and improving your body's sensitivity to the insulin it already makes. It is an if-then statement for your cells. Here is your practical action. The next time you visit your pharmacist to pick up your prescription, do not just sign the pad and leave. Schedule a 15-minute consultation. It is often free. Go in with a notepad and one question. Can you explain to me, as if I were a curious student, the logical mechanism by which this medication helps my body? Then listen. Take notes. Ask follow-up questions. You are turning a passive transaction into an active intelligence-gathering session. You are taking ownership. By understanding the tool, you replace fear with knowledge. The Roman philosopher Seneca was one of the wealthiest men in Rome. He was also a dedicated Stoic. He saw no contradiction. He taught that it is not money, but our attachment to it, that causes suffering. He used his wealth as a tool, to fund his studies, to help his friends, to live a life that allowed him the space for philosophy. He was a pragmatist. He used the resources available to him. Your medication is a resource, a product of immense scientific investment. To not use it, or to use it resentfully, is illogical. To use it without understanding it is to be a poor craftsman. So, I ask you, do you see your medication as a sign of weakness, or as a powerful ally you've chosen to employ? Are you a passive recipient of your treatment, or an active student of it? Your body will speak to you. After you begin a new regimen, it will provide feedback. We call this feedback side effects. The untrained mind will interpret this feedback as a punishment. It will react with fear, frustration, and a desire to quit. The mind of a strategist, however, understands that this is not punishment. It is data, pure data. To panic at the first sign of an unwanted side effect is like a general panicking because a scout has returned with news from the front. The news may be good or bad, but the scout's report is not the battle itself. It is simply information, valuable information, that must be analyzed calmly to inform the next decision. Fear is not a strategy. I recall a particularly brutal negotiation early in my career. I was young, and every time the other party raised an objection or showed a flash of anger, I felt my own anxiety spike. I took it personally. My mentor pulled me aside during a break. He said, "Stop reacting to their emotion. Listen for the information behind it. Their anger isn't about you. It's a signal. It's telling you where their fears are, what they're trying to protect. Detach, observe, analyze." That single piece of advice changed how I operated. I learned to see their reactions not as attacks, but as a map to a successful outcome. Your body's side effects are its signals. They are a map. Your job is to read the map without getting lost in the forest of fear. This requires a practical tool. I call it the data, not drama log. Get a simple notebook. Create 4 columns: date, time, medication, food, sensation, my story. Let's say you experience some nausea. In the sensation column, you write, slightly queasy feeling in stomach. Lasted 30 minutes. Severity, 310. In the My Story column, you write the emotional reaction you had. This isn't working. I'm going to feel sick forever. I can't live like this. The purpose of this exercise is to see in black and white the chasm between reality and your interpretation of it. The sensation is the data. The story is the drama. The data is what you calmly report to your doctor. The drama is what you work on with yourself. Over time, you train yourself to live in the first column and observe the second with detached amusement. The great Stoic emperor, Marcus Aurelius, had a practice for this. He called it objective representation. He would strip events of their emotional varnish. He wouldn't say, I am enduring a terrible storm. He would say, the wind is blowing. Water is falling from the sky. He would see things for exactly what they were. A stomachache is a sensation of pressure and heat. It is not a catastrophe. It is not proof that I'm falling apart. Strip away the judgment. See the data. When your body sends you a signal, is your first reaction fear or curiosity? Are you allowing physical discomfort to dictate your emotional state, or are you using it as information to guide your next wise action? There is an undeniable reality we must confront with cold, hard logic. Managing a chronic condition costs money. And the anxiety produced by financial stress can be as damaging to your system as high blood sugar. It floods you with cortisol, disrupts your sleep, and destroys your inner peace. Therefore, managing the cost of your health is not a secondary concern. It is a primary pillar of building your inner citadel. You cannot achieve tranquility of mind if you are in a constant state of panic about paying for the tools that keep you well. To surrender to this anxiety, to see it as an uncontrollable force, is a choice, a poor one. The strategist confronts this head-on. I've been close to zero. Early in my journey, before any success, a series of bad deals pushed my company to the brink of bankruptcy. I remember the sleepless nights, the feeling of a lead weight in my stomach. The fear was paralyzing, and in that paralysis I was useless. The turning point came when I realized that my emotional reaction, my fear, was a self-indulgence I could no longer afford. I had to become a cold, calculating commander of my resources. I had to detach from the terror and focus only on the numbers, on the strategy. I created a war room and mapped out every dollar, every debt, every potential source of revenue. The fear didn't vanish, but it no longer sat in the commander's chair. Logic did. You must do the same for your healthcare costs. Here is your practical application. The annual Health Finance Summit. Once a year, perhaps in the fall before insurance open enrollment, you schedule this meeting with yourself. You gather your documents, your list of medications, your explanation of benefits from your insurer, your budget. You treat it with the seriousness of a corporate board meeting. Your agenda has 3 items. 1. Optimize. Are there generic versions of my medications I can discuss with my doctor? Can I get a 90-day supply by mail order to reduce costs? 2. Research. I will dedicate 2 hours to searching for patient assistance programs from the drug manufacturers or grants from nonprofits. 3. Question. I will call my insurance provider and ask directly, what is the most cost-effective way for me to acquire these specific prescriptions under my current plan? This transforms you from a victim of the system into a navigator of it. It restores your sense of agency. The Stoics championed the virtue of prudence, or practical wisdom. This is not about being cheap or stingy. It is about being intelligent, resourceful, and strategic with the resources you possess. A wise person does not let external financial pressures collapse their internal state if those pressures can be mitigated through foresight and diligent action. They plug the leaks in the ship before worrying about the storm. So, I ask you, have you surrendered to the idea that healthcare costs are an uncontrollable force, or are you actively seeking out the leverage points you do control? Are you treating the financial aspect of your health with the same seriousness as your stock portfolio? Your initial treatment plan is not a stone tablet delivered from the mountaintop. It is a starting hypothesis. It is your best strategic guess based on the initial intelligence. But the battlefield is dynamic. Your body is a living, changing system. To cling rigidly to an initial plan in the face of new information is not discipline, it is dogma. And dogma has no place in a successful campaign. A good commander is in constant dialogue with the front lines. They receive reports on what's working, what isn't, and where the enemy is showing unexpected strength. Based on this flow of data, they adapt. They reinforce success, abandon failed tactics, and pivot their strategy. Your job, as the commander of your own well-being, is to do the same. For years, I managed a complex software development project. Our initial blueprint was a work of art, elegant, comprehensive, and perfectly logical. We were all proud of it. But 6 months into development, a competitor released a new technology that changed the entire landscape. To continue following our original blueprint would have been to march with perfect discipline toward a guaranteed failure. Some on my team resisted change. They had fallen in love with the plan. I had to remind them, we are not in love with the plan. We are in love with the mission. The mission is to win. The plan is just a tool, and this tool is now obsolete. Your mission is a flourishing life. Your treatment regimen is the plan. Do not fall in love with the plan. Your practical application is to shift from passive checkups to proactive health summits. You schedule these with your doctor quarterly. But you don't just show up. You prepare an executive summary. You bring your data, not drama log. You bring your blood sugar readings. You bring your list of questions. The agenda for this summit is clear. 1. Review the data. What do the numbers from the last 90 days tell us? What are the trends? 2. Assess efficacy. Which parts of the current plan are working effectively? 3. Identify friction. What isn't working? 4. Propose adjustments. Based on this data, you and your doctor collaborate on the next iteration of the plan. This changes the entire dynamic. You are no longer a subordinate receiving orders. You are a strategic partner, bringing valuable field intelligence to the command center to co-author the next phase of the campaign. The Stoics practiced a concept known as premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of future troubles. But this principle can be inverted. We don't just anticipate what could go wrong, we proactively seek what could be made better. We are constantly scanning the horizon for opportunities to optimize our position. A life without this constant, logical review is a life left to chance. So let me ask you, are you blindly following a plan that was set months or even years ago, or are you an active participant in its constant evolution? Do you wait for a crisis to force a reevaluation, or do you proactively seek opportunities to improve your strategy? Let us assume you do everything we've discussed with perfection. You master your understanding of the medication. You track your body's data with the detachment of a scientist. You manage the costs like a shrewd CFO, and you adjust your plan like a great general. You have fortified the perimeter. You have managed the externals. But the real war is never on the perimeter. The final battle is always for the capital, and the capital is your mind. A chronic condition lays siege to the mind. It whispers to you in moments of weakness. It tells you that you are fragile. It tells you that your peace of mind is contingent on a number on a screen. It tries to convince you that your happiness can be measured in A1C points. If you allow this, you can have a perfectly managed body and a tormented soul. Your most important work, therefore, is the construction of an inner citadel. A fortress of the mind so strong that no external circumstance, not a bad blood sugar reading, not a new side effect, not a discouraging word from a doctor can breach its walls. I know this from experience. At the peak of my entrepreneurial success, my external fortress was magnificent. I had the money, the recognition, the wins. But inside, I was in ruins. My inner citadel was a pile of rubble. I was so terrified of losing what I had built that I lived in a constant state of low-grade panic. Then the burnout came. My health collapsed, and I realized my entire sense of self was built on sand. The slow, arduous work of rebuilding was not about business. It was about philosophy. It was about laying down, brick by brick, a foundation of principles that could not be shaken by the market, by the opinions of others, or even by the failings of my own body. Your practical application for building this citadel is a core Stoic practice: negative visualization. This sounds grim, but it is one of the most powerful tools for generating resilience and gratitude. Each morning, for just 5 minutes, contemplate what your situation would be like if it were worse. Consider life without the medication that is available to you. Imagine the condition being more aggressive, more painful. Contemplate the state of a person with the same condition a century ago. The purpose is not to be morbid. The purpose is twofold. First, it extinguishes complaining. It is impossible to complain about the side effects of a medication when you have just spent 5 minutes being grateful for its very existence. Second, it builds immense psychological resilience. By visiting these difficult scenarios in your mind, you rob them of their power to terrorize you. You are inoculating your mind against future fear. As Seneca wrote, "He who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." Your diagnosis has arrived. The ongoing work is to build the mental fortress that takes away its power to destroy your tranquility. So, I will ask you, is your sense of well-being entirely dependent on your glucose reading for the day? Or are you actively building a source of inner peace that cannot be touched by the fluctuations of your physical body? There comes a point in this journey where the focus must shift. It must expand beyond your own body, your own mind, your own struggle. It must expand to include those who are watching you. And make no mistake, people are always watching. Your children, your grandchildren, your friends, your spouse. They are observing how you handle this new set of operating conditions. You have been given a unique opportunity, a responsibility, a duty, to provide them with a living lesson in human fortitude. You can show them what it means to face an unwelcome reality not with complaint, but with courage, not with self-pity, but with discipline, not with fear, but with grace. Your struggle, handled with virtue, becomes a gift to everyone around you. I had a mentor in my early 20s, a senior partner at the firm where I first worked. He was a brilliant man, sharp and kind. I learned later that he was in a quiet, decade-long battle with a severe autoimmune disease. He never spoke of it. He never used it as an excuse. Some days I could see the pain behind his eyes, but his actions were never altered. He showed up. He did his work with excellence. He treated every person with dignity. He never complained. His silent demonstration of strength under duress taught me more about character than any book I have ever read or any lecture I have ever attended. He showed me what it meant to have an unconquerable mind. His handling of his private burden was a public service. This is now your role. You must shift your internal narrative from the victim's cry of, "Why is this happening to me?" to the leader's question, "What can I show others through my response to this?" The practical application here is not a task, but a change in posture. It means when your grandchildren see you checking your blood sugar, you do so with a calm neutrality, not a sigh of resignation. It means if they ask, you explain it simply. "This is a tool I use to take care of my body so I have the energy to play with you." You are not burdening them, you are teaching them the virtue of self-care and discipline. You transform a personal regimen into a lesson in responsibility. You reframe your actions from something you have to do into something you get to do to model strength for those you love. The Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations not for publication, but as a private journal to remind himself of his duty. He constantly reflected on his responsibility to the human community, to act with virtue for the good of the whole, even when he was tired, frustrated, or dealing with fools. Managing a chronic illness is your private struggle, but handling it with virtue is your public duty. It is how you serve your community now. So I ask you this: who is watching you navigate this challenge? And what lesson is your response teaching them about how a life is to be lived? We have journeyed far. We have discussed strategy, tactics, logistics, and the fortification of the mind. But we must end at the source of it all. What is the ultimate goal? If you asked your doctor, they might say the goal is an A1C under 7.0. That is a fine tactical objective, but it is not a mission for a human life. The ultimate goal is not to merely manage a number. The goal is to live a good, meaningful, and tranquil life in accordance with the nature of your reality. The reality is that this condition is now a part of your nature. The mission, therefore, is to flourish not by eradicating it, but by integrating it into a life of virtue. The medications help the body. The philosophy is what heals the soul. For years, my definition of success was external. It was a number in a bank account, a headline in a trade publication. I achieved it all, and I was the most miserable man I knew. My internal state was chaos. Today, at 60, with the inevitable aches and realities of this age, my definition is entirely internal. Success is the ability to command my own mind. It is the capacity to meet pain, frustration, and uncertainty with calm, reason, and purpose. By that definition, I am infinitely more successful today than I was as a wealthy, anxious, and celebrated young man. This is the peace that philosophy offers. It is a prize no diagnosis can ever take from you. The final practical tool is perhaps the most important. It is the Stoic Evening Review. Before you sleep, put down your phone, turn off the television, and sit with a pen and paper for 3 minutes. Ask yourself 3 questions. 1. What did I do well today, in accordance with my principles? 2. Where did I fall short? 3. What can I do better tomorrow? This is not an exercise in self-flagellation. It is a calm, rational process of continuous improvement. It is the practice of a craftsman honing their skill. Your life is your craft. The ancient Greeks had a word for the ultimate goal of philosophy: eudaimonia. It is often translated as happiness, but it's closer to human flourishing. It is the deep sense of well-being that comes from living a life of virtue, of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. It is not a fleeting emotion. It is a state of being, built over a lifetime of right action and right thinking. A chronic illness does not prevent eudaimonia. In fact, it can be the very crucible that forges it. It demands that you practice courage, temperance, and wisdom every single day. So my final questions to you are these. 10 years from now, what will matter more, the precise record of your daily blood sugar or the character you built while managing it? Is your ultimate focus on the disease or on the quality of the life you are living with it? Your doctor wrote you a prescription for medication. Today, you must write yourself a prescription for virtue. That is the only truth that will set you free.